My name is Amara Mitchell. I'm 34 years old, and I'm a New York Times best-selling author. But Mitchell wasn't always my name. I was born Amara Reynolds. That was my father's name. The name I carried for the first 18 years of my life. The name I wrote on every school assignment. The name I signed on my first job application. The name I thought I would carry forever. But when I was 18 years old, my father did something that most people can't even imagine. He went to a courthouse, filed paperwork, paid a fee, and legally changed his last name from Reynolds to Parker. Why? Because he didn't want anyone to know that I was his daughter. He was starting a new job in a new city with a new wife. And in this new life, he decided there was no room for me. No room for the daughter he'd spent 18 years resenting. No room for the reminder of a past he wanted to erase. So he erased me. Legally. Officially. Permanently. When I found out, I was sitting in my college dorm room, freshman year. A letter from my aunt, his sister, arrived. She thought I should know. Your father changed his name. He told everyone at his new job that he doesn't have children. I'm sorry, honey. I thought you deserved to hear it from family, not strangers. I read that letter 7 times, trying to understand. Trying to make it make sense. My own father was so ashamed of me that he changed his entire identity just to pretend I didn't exist. Do you know what that does to a person? To an 18-year-old girl who already spent her whole childhood wondering why her father looked at her like she was a mistake, I'll tell you what it did to me. It broke me, completely, for a while. And then it rebuilt me, into someone he never expected. 16 years later, I'm sitting in my corner office in Manhattan. My name, Mitchell. My mother's maiden name is on a publishing company worth $85 million. My books have sold 12 million copies worldwide. My face has been on the cover of Forbes, Time, and Essence magazine. And 3 weeks ago, my father called me for the first time in 16 years. He wants to reconnect. He wants to be part of my life. He wants to tell everyone that the famous Amara Mitchell is his daughter. The daughter he erased, the name he rejected. The child he was ashamed of, now he wants back in. What would you do? Before I tell you my answer, I need you to do something. Hit subscribe, right now. Because this story is going to take you places you didn't expect. And drop your country and what time it is in the comments. I want to know who's staying up late with me tonight. Now let me take you back. Back to a house in Atlanta, Georgia. Back to a little girl who just wanted her daddy to love her. And the moment I realized he never would. I was born on March 15th, 1991, in Atlanta, Georgia. My mother, Denise Mitchell, was 23 years old. She was beautiful, the kind of beautiful that made people stop and stare. Dark skin that glowed like honey in the sunlight. A smile that could light up a room. And a heart so big it had room for everyone. My father, Marcus Reynolds, was 25. Handsome, charming, the kind of man who knew exactly what to say to make you feel special. He worked at a bank. Wore nice suits, drove a nice car. Everyone said my mother was lucky to have him. They got married when my mother was 3 months pregnant with me. A quick wedding, small ceremony. His family wasn't happy about it, but they showed up. What nobody knew, what my mother didn't find out until years later, was that Marcus Reynolds never wanted children. He never wanted to be a father, and he especially didn't want a daughter. He wanted a son, someone to carry on his name, someone to play catch with, someone to make him proud. Instead, he got me, and from the moment I took my first breath, I was a disappointment. My earliest memory of my father is from when I was 4 years old. We were at a family barbecue, his side of the family. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everywhere. I was wearing a yellow dress that my mother had picked out. She'd done my hair in 2 puffs with matching yellow ribbons. I remember feeling so pretty, so happy. I ran up to my father, who was standing with a group of his cousins, and I grabbed his hand. "Daddy, Daddy, look at my dress. Mommy said I look like a princess." He looked down at me, and the expression on his face, I'll never forget it. It wasn't love. It wasn't pride. It wasn't even annoyance. It was embarrassment. He pulled his hand away, gently but firmly. Go find your mother, Amara. But Daddy, I want to stay with you. One of his cousins laughed. She's got you wrapped around her finger, Marcus. My father's jaw tightened. She's her mother's child, he said. I barely see myself in her. I didn't understand what he meant. Not then. I was 4. All I knew was that my daddy didn't want to hold my hand. My daddy didn't want me near him. I found my mother by the food table and burst into tears. Baby, what's wrong? Daddy doesn't want me. My mother looked across the yard at my father. Something passed across her face. Something sad. Something knowing. Your daddy loves you, baby. He doesn't know how to show it. That became the excuse for the next 14 years. He doesn't know how to show it. He's not good with emotions. He's trying his best, but the truth was simpler than that, and much more painful. He just didn't love me. Maybe he couldn't. Maybe he didn't know how. But the result was the same. I grew up in a house with a father who treated me like a stranger. Let me tell you what my childhood looked like. Other kids' fathers came to their school plays. My father missed every single one. Work, he always said. But he never missed my cousin Derek's football games. Never. Other kids' fathers helped with homework. My father would sigh heavily if I asked him anything. Ask your mother. That's her department. Other kids' fathers said, I love you at bedtime. My father said good night from the doorway. He never came inside my room, never sat on my bed, never read me a story. I used to think I was doing something wrong, that if I was smarter, prettier, better behaved, he would love me. So I became the perfect child, straight A's, every year. From first grade through high school, I never got a B, not once. I joined every club, debate team, honor society, student council. I was captain of things, president of things. I collected achievements like other kids collected trading cards. I thought if I was impressive enough, he would finally see me. He didn't. When I was 12, I won a citywide essay contest, first place out of 3,000 students. The award ceremony was on a Saturday afternoon. My mother was there, beaming in the front row. My father was at a golf tournament with his friends. When I came home with my trophy, he glanced at it and said, "That's nice," then went back to watching TV. That night, I heard my parents arguing through the walls. Marcus, she won first place. Out of 3,000 children. You couldn't miss one golf game? It's an essay contest, Denise. It's not like she won a real competition. A real competition? She's 12. Derek won his wrestling tournament last month. That's a real achievement. This is just words. Just words. I lay in my bed, listening, and something inside me cracked. But I kept trying. For 6 more years, I kept trying. Because that's what you do when you're a child. You keep reaching for love, even when it keeps moving out of reach. I need to stop here for a second. If you grew up with a parent who made you feel invisible, if you spent your childhood trying to earn love that was never given freely, if you know what it feels like to be not enough, no matter what you did, type "I understand" in the comments. Because I need you to know that you're not alone. And I need you to know that this isn't a story about staying broken. This is a story about becoming unbreakable. Now let me tell you what happened when I turned 16. The summer I turned 16, my father left. Not dramatically, not with screaming and slamming doors. He left the way he did everything related to me quietly, efficiently, without emotion. He sat my mother down one evening and told her he wanted a divorce. He'd met someone else. A woman named Patricia from his office. She was younger. She didn't have children. She didn't want children. I need a fresh start, he said. I can't be who I need to be in this house. My mother asked him about me, about his daughter, about the child he was walking away from. His answer was the most honest thing he ever said to me. Amara will be fine. She has you. She's never really needed me anyway. Never really needed him. As if needing your father is optional. As if 16 years of reaching for his love was just nothing. The divorce was final 4 months later. He moved to Chicago. He married Patricia within a year. He didn't call on my 16th birthday, or my 17th, or my 18th. He sent checks. Every month, child support arrived like clockwork, but he never called, never visited, never asked how I was doing. The checks had a memo line. It always said the same thing. Child support A. Reynolds. A. Reynolds. Not Amara. Not my daughter. Just a letter and a last name. That's all I was to him. An obligation. A line item. A debt he had to pay. The summer before college, I was helping my mother clean out the garage. We found boxes of old photos, baby pictures, school photos, family portraits from back when we were pretending to be a family. In one box, I found something that made me sick. A letter. In my father's handwriting. Dated March 20th, 1991. 5 days after I was born. It was addressed to his brother, my Uncle Vernon. I shouldn't have read it. But I was 17 and angry and looking for answers. Vernon, I made a mistake. Denise is a good woman, but this baby, I look at her and I feel nothing. I thought it would change. I thought when I held her, something would click. It didn't. Everyone says I'll grow to love her, but what if I don't? What if I'm just not meant to be a father? I feel trapped. I feel like my whole future just disappeared. I'm 25 years old, and my life is already over. I read that letter sitting on the cold garage floor. My father held me when I was 5 days old and felt nothing. Not love, not joy, not wonder, nothing. And he spent the next 17 years making sure I knew it. My mother found me there an hour later, still on the floor, the letter in my hands. She didn't say anything at first. She just sat down next to me and held me while I cried. When I finally stopped, she said something I'll never forget. Amara, that letter is about him, not about you. There is nothing wrong with you. There never was. Your father is a broken man who doesn't know how to love. That's his tragedy. Don't let it become yours. But why, Mama? Why doesn't he love me? Because he doesn't know how to love himself. And you can't give away something you don't have. She took the letter from my hands. You have a choice right now, baby. You can let this define you. You can spend your life chasing love from someone who can't give it. Or you can decide that you're enough, with or without him. You can decide that your worth doesn't depend on his approval. She looked me in the eyes. Which one are you going to choose? I didn't answer her that night. But I started thinking about it. And I didn't stop thinking about it for a very long time. I went to college at NYU, full scholarship. My grades got me there. My essays got me there. Just words, right, Dad? I left Atlanta with 2 suitcases and a heart full of unresolved pain. I didn't say goodbye to my father. He didn't know I was leaving. We hadn't spoken in almost 2 years. My mother drove me to the airport. When she hugged me goodbye, she pressed something into my hand, a small envelope. Don't open this until you need it, she said. You'll know when. I tucked it into my bag and didn't think about it again for 3 years. Freshman year was hard. Not academically, I could handle the classes. But emotionally, I was a wreck. I was surrounded by people whose fathers called them every Sunday, whose fathers sent care packages, whose fathers flew in for Parents' Weekend and took them to dinner. My father didn't even know my address. I threw myself into writing. It was the only thing that made sense. I wrote essays, short stories, poetry. I filled notebook after notebook with words. Words about pain, words about absence, words about a little girl who just wanted her daddy to love her. Professor Williams, my creative writing teacher, noticed my work. Amara, you have talent. Real talent, but your writing is angry. It's raw. Have you considered therapy? I laughed. I can't afford therapy. Then write through it. Use the anger. But don't let it consume you. The best writers transform their pain into something universal. Right now, you're just bleeding on the page. That's a start. But it's not enough. I didn't know what she meant, not then. But I kept writing. The letter arrived during my sophomore year, November 3rd, 2010, a Tuesday. I remember because I had a midterm the next day. I was stressed, barely sleeping, living on coffee and determination. My roommate handed me an envelope that had been left at our door. This was in the mail pile. Looks official. It was from my Aunt Lorraine, my father's sister. The only one from his side of the family who still talked to me. I opened it expecting a birthday card. My birthday was coming up. Instead, I found a letter, handwritten, 3 pages. Amara, I need to tell you something. I thought about keeping this from you, but you deserve to know the truth. Your father changed his name 6 months ago, legally. He's Marcus Parker now. He told his new employers that he doesn't have any children. His wife Patricia convinced him that his past was holding him back from promotions. Apparently, having a first family makes him look unstable. I found out at Thanksgiving when I called him Marcus Reynolds and Patricia corrected me. It's Parker now. We wanted a fresh start. I'm so sorry, honey. I'm so angry at my brother. This is unforgivable. But I wanted you to hear it from me, not from some stranger someday. You are worthy of so much more than what he gave you. Please know that not all of us forgot about you. I love you. Aunt Lorraine. I read the letter 3 times. Then I walked to the bathroom, locked myself in a stall, and threw up. My father erased me. Not just emotionally, not just practically. Legally. He went to a courthouse, stood before a clerk, and said, I want to be someone else now. And in becoming someone else, he made me no one. I wasn't Marcus Reynolds' daughter anymore. Because Marcus Reynolds no longer existed. I didn't go to my midterm the next day. I didn't go to any classes that week. I lay in my dorm room bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to understand. How do you process being undaughtered? How do you grieve a father who's still alive but chose to make you a stranger? On the 3rd day, my roommate forced me to eat something. Amara, you're scaring me. Talk to me. What happened? I showed her the letter. She read it. Then she looked at me with tears in her eyes. What kind of person does this? My father. That's what kind of person. What are you going to do? I didn't have an answer. Not yet. But that night, I remembered the envelope my mother gave me at the airport. Don't open this until you need it. I needed it. I dug through my desk until I found it. Crumpled now, worn at the edges. Inside was a single piece of paper. My mother's handwriting. Amara, if you're reading this, something has happened. Something that made you question your worth. I don't know what it is, but I know your father. And I know that whatever he did it because he's broken. Not because of anything you did or didn't do. I want you to remember something. You are a Mitchell, my daughter, my blood. My heart walking around outside my body. When I married your father, I took his name because that's what women did. But I never forgot who I was. I was Denise Mitchell before him. And I remained Denise Mitchell in my heart even while I was Denise Reynolds on paper. Now I'm giving that name to you. Not because Reynolds isn't good enough, but because Mitchell is who we are. Strong Black women who survive, who rise, who build something from nothing. You don't need his name, baby. You never did. Go be Amara Mitchell. Go make that name mean something. And when the world asks who you are, you tell them, I am my mother's daughter. And that is more than enough. I love you forever, Mama. I held that letter and cried until I had nothing left. And then, for the first time in days, I got out of bed. The next morning, I did 3 things. First, I went to the registrar's office and started the paperwork to legally change my name. It took 6 months, $200 I didn't have, and a court appearance that made me shake. But on May 15th, 2011, I became Amara Mitchell. Second, I called my mother and thanked her for the letter, for knowing I would need it. For being the parent that both of us deserved. She cried. I cried. We cried together for an hour. Third, I started writing a book. Not just journal entries, not just angry poems, a real book. A memoir about growing up invisible in your own home. About being unloved by the person who was supposed to love you most. About choosing yourself when the world tells you you're not worth choosing. I called it The Daughter He Forgot. I wrote it in 11 months. Between classes, between work-study shifts, between moments of doubt so heavy I could barely breathe, I didn't know if anyone would read it. I didn't know if it was any good, but I knew I had to write it. Because the words were burning inside me, and if I didn't let them out, they would consume me. I need to pause here. What do you think happened next? Option A. The book got rejected by every publisher, and Amara gave up on writing. Option B. The book got picked up by a small publisher and became a modest success. Option C. Something unexpected happened that changed everything. Drop your answer in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Because this story is about to take a turn you didn't see coming. I finished The Daughter He Forgot 3 weeks before graduation. 622 pages, single-spaced. My entire heart poured onto paper. I sent query letters to 47 literary agents. 47 personalized letters explaining who I was, what I'd written, why it mattered. Then I waited. Rejection number 1 came 3 days later. Thank you for your submission, but this isn't right for our list at this time. Rejection number 2 came the next week. Same words. Different letterhead. By the end of summer, I had 44 rejections. Form letters. Polite dismissals. Not a good fit. Market is saturated with memoirs. We're not taking new clients. 44 people who read my query and decided I wasn't worth their time. My mother kept asking about the book. I kept lying. Still waiting to hear back, Mama. I couldn't tell her the truth. I couldn't tell her that maybe my father was right. Maybe I was just words. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Then, on August 15th, 2012, my email pinged. A response from agent #45. Her name was Rebecca Chen, small agency, 3 clients. Based in Brooklyn. Miss Mitchell, I read your query letter 6 times. I normally delete cold queries, but something about yours made me stop. Can you send me the first 3 chapters? I'd like to see more. I sent them that night. 3 days later, she asked for the full manuscript. 1 week after that, she called me. Amara, I have to tell you something. I read your book in one sitting. I started at 8 p.m. I finished at 4 a.m. I cried on page 47. I cried again on page 312. And I cried at the end. I was silent. Afraid to hope. I want to represent you. I think this book needs to exist. I think there are millions of daughters out there who need to read your story. I started crying on the phone. Ugly crying. The kind where you can't breathe. Is that a yes? She asked. Yes. Yes. 1,000 times yes. Rebecca was a force of nature. She edited the manuscript with me for 3 months, cut 100 pages, added 50 new ones, made me dig deeper into the parts I wanted to hide from. This section where you found the letter from your aunt, I need more. What did it feel like to read those words? What did you do afterward? Take me there. I didn't want to go there. It hurt too much. The best memoirs hurt, Rebecca said. That's how you know they're real. So I went there. Again and again. I excavated my pain until there was nothing left to hide. By January 2013, we were ready to submit to publishers. Rebecca sent the book to 23 publishers. 18 rejected it immediately. 3 asked for meetings. 2 made offers. We went with Harper and Row. A real publisher. A real advance. $75,000. I called my mother the night I signed the contract. Mama, I sold my book. Silence. Mama, are you there? I'm here, baby. I can't. How much? $75,000. My mother's strong, unbreakable Denise Mitchell started sobbing. My baby wrote a book. My baby is an author. Oh, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Mama, stop. You're going to make me cry. Let me cry, child. This is a crying moment. We laughed and cried together for an hour. Again. The Daughter He Forgot was published on September 3rd, 2013. The first week, nothing happened. 2,000 copies sold. Decent for a debut memoir. Not earth-shattering. The second week, something changed. A booktuber, a woman named Michelle, with 500,000 subscribers, posted a video. I Cannot Stop Crying. The Daughter He Forgot by Amara Mitchell. Book review. Her video got 2 million views in 3 days. Suddenly, everyone wanted my book. Week 3, 45,000 copies sold. Week 4, 112,000 copies sold. Week 5, the New York Times called. The Daughter He Forgot debuted at #7 on the New York Times bestseller list. By Christmas, it was has-hone. Let me tell you what has-hone feels like. It feels like vindication. Like every rejection, every dismissal, every "you're not good enough" suddenly becoming fuel for a fire that can't be contained. It feels like proof. Proof that your pain matters. Proof that your story deserves to exist. Proof that the people who doubted you were wrong. But it also feels lonely. Because the one person I secretly wanted to notice, the person whose approval I had chased my entire childhood, was nowhere to be found. My father didn't call when the book came out. He didn't call when it hit the bestseller list. He didn't call when I was featured on the Today Show, when Robin Roberts interviewed me for Good Morning America, when Oprah added it to her book club. Marcus Parker, the man formerly known as Marcus Reynolds, was silent, and part of me was relieved. But another part of me, the little girl who still lived somewhere deep inside, was devastated. Even now, even with all of this, I wasn't enough for him. The book stayed on the bestseller list for 47 weeks. It sold 3.2 million copies in the first year alone. It was translated into 31 languages. A movie studio bought the rights for $1.2 million. And suddenly, everyone knew the name Amara Mitchell, the name my mother gave me, the name I chose when my father chose to forget me. Mitchell, not Reynolds, not Parker, Mitchell. And that name was everywhere. I need to pause here, because I know what some of you are thinking. This is a success story. She made it. What's the problem? The problem is that success doesn't heal trauma. Money doesn't erase pain. Fame doesn't fill the hole left by a parent who never loved you. I had everything I thought I wanted. And I was still broken. Type, success isn't healing if you understand what I mean. Because the next part of this story is about what happens when the person who broke you finally comes back. For 3 years. After the book came out, I heard nothing from my father. I didn't expect to. He had changed his name specifically to avoid being associated with me. Why would he reach out now? But I thought about him. More than I wanted to admit. Every interview I did, every award I accepted, every time I saw my name in print, I wondered if he saw it too. If somewhere in Chicago, Marcus Parker was watching his daughter succeed and feeling something. Probably not. He was good at feeling nothing. I built an empire in those 3 years. The movie adaptation of The Daughter He Forgot came out in 2015, starring Viola Davis as my mother. It was nominated for 4 Academy Awards. I wrote a second book, The Name I Chose, about rebuilding your identity after trauma. Another bestseller. I started a publishing company, Mitchell House, focused on stories from marginalized voices, stories that traditional publishers ignored. By 2016, I was on the Forbes 30 Under 30 list. By 2018, Mitchell House was worth $50 million. By 2020, we had published 147 books, 23 of which became bestsellers. I was successful beyond my wildest dreams, and my father was still silent. Until 3 weeks ago, March 15th, 2025. My 34th birthday. I was in my office, going through emails, when my assistant knocked on the door. Amara, there's a man in the lobby asking to see you. He doesn't have an appointment. He says he's your father. I stopped breathing. What name did he give? Marcus Parker. I didn't see him that day. I couldn't. I told my assistant to tell him I was unavailable, but he left a letter. I didn't open it for 3 days. It sat on my desk like a bomb waiting to explode. On day 3, my mother called. Amara, I heard your father came to see you. How did you Aunt Lorraine called me? Marcus called her looking for your office address. She didn't give it to him, but apparently he found it anyway. What does he want? I don't know, baby, but I think you need to find out. Not for him, for you. That night, I opened the letter. Amara, I know I don't deserve to write this. I know I don't deserve to ask for anything from you, but I'm asking anyway. I've been watching your career from a distance. I've read both of your books. I saw the movie. I saw you accept that award on television. I've watched you become someone extraordinary, And I've spent the last 10 years realizing that the biggest mistake of my life wasn't marrying your mother or getting divorced or moving to Chicago. The biggest mistake was you. Not having you, losing you, choosing to lose you. I know I can't undo what I did. I know I can't unchange my name or unerase the years of silence. I know I'm sorry isn't enough. Nothing is enough. But I'm dying, Amara. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. 6 months, maybe less. I don't want your pity. I don't want your forgiveness if you can't give it. I just want to see you, one time. To tell you in person what I should have told you when you were 4 years old and just wanted to hold my hand. I'm proud of you. I was always proud of you. I was just too broken to show it. Please. Your father, Marcus. I read the letter and felt nothing. Then I felt everything. Rage, grief, confusion. A tiny, terrible spark of hope. He's dying. The man who erased me is dying. And now he wants to see me? I called my mother. Mama, he has cancer. He's dying. Silence on the other end. Mama, I heard you. I don't know what to feel. Neither do I. What are you going to do? I don't know. Whatever you decide, I support you. If you want to see him, see him. If you don't. This is your choice. It always was. What would you do? She was quiet for a long moment. I would need to look him in the eye. Not for his sake, for mine. I'd need to say the things I never got to say, and then I'd need to walk away, on my own terms. Even after everything he did? Especially after everything he did. Closure isn't about forgiving them, baby. It's about freeing yourself. I took a week to decide. 7 days of barely sleeping. 7 days of going back and forth. 7 days of imagining every possible conversation, every possible outcome. On day 7, I wrote back, Marcus, I'll meet you. Once. Not because you deserve it. Because I need to look at you and say the things I've been carrying for 30 years. Name the place. Name the time. Amara Mitchell. I signed it with my mother's name. The name he rejected. The name I made famous. I need to stop here. What do you think I should say to him? Type forgive if you think I should forgive him. Type closure if you think I should just get closure and walk away. Type nothing if you think I shouldn't say anything at all, and stay. With me, because the conversation I had with my father is something I'll never forget. We met at a coffee shop in Manhattan. His choice. He flew in from Chicago. Alone. I saw him through the window before I went in. He was sitting at a corner table, both hands wrapped around a cup of tea. He looked old, thin. The cancer had already started to take him. Part of me wanted to feel satisfaction. Look at you now. The man who erased me is disappearing himself. But I didn't feel satisfaction. I just felt sad. Not sad for him. Sad for the little girl who spent 18 years hoping he would see her. Sad for all the lost years. Sad for what could have been. I walked in and sat down across from him. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. He looked at me with tears in his eyes. You look just like your mother, he said. More beautiful than I remembered. That's because you stopped remembering me a long time ago. He flinched. Good. Amara, No. I'm going to talk first. You're going to listen. That's how this works. He nodded. I spent the first 18 years of my life trying to earn your love. Did you know that? Every report card, every award, every achievement, it was all for you. I thought if I was perfect enough, you would finally see me. He looked down at his tea. You never did. You looked right through me. I was invisible in my own home. Do you know what that does to a child? Do you have any idea? Amara, I'm not done. He closed his mouth. When you left, I thought maybe it was my fault. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe if I'd been different, been a boy, been prettier, been quieter, been louder, been something, you would have stayed. I leaned forward. I spent years in therapy unpacking that. Years. Learning that your inability to love me had nothing to do with my worth. That I was always enough. That you were the one who was broken. Tears were streaming down his face now. And then you changed your name. You went to a courthouse and paid money to make sure no one would ever know I existed. Do you understand what that did to me? You didn't just leave me. You erased me. You made me a ghost. I know. I know what I did. Do you? Because you're sitting here telling me you're proud of me, that you've been watching my career, that you read my books. Do you know what I wrote about? You. I wrote about the father who couldn't love his daughter. Millions of people read about what you did to me. You're famous now, Marcus, just not the way you wanted to be. He laughed, a sad, broken sound. I deserve that. Yes, you do. We sat in silence for a while. The coffee shop hummed around us, normal people living normal lives. Finally, I asked the question I'd been carrying for 30 years. Why? I need to understand why. What did I do wrong? He looked up at me. His eyes were red. Nothing. You did nothing wrong. It was never about you. Then what was it about? He took a deep breath. Shaky. When you were born, I looked at you and I felt terror. Pure terror. I was 25 years old. I had dreams, plans. And suddenly there was this tiny human who needed me for everything. And I wasn't ready. I wasn't equipped. I didn't know how to be a father. So you just didn't try? I convinced myself you were better off without my involvement. That if I couldn't love you properly, I shouldn't pretend. I thought I was protecting you. You weren't protecting me. You were protecting yourself. I know that now. I've always known it, really. I just couldn't admit it. He reached across the table, stopped short of touching my hand. I was a coward, Amara. I was scared and selfish, and I made choices that destroyed any chance of having a relationship with my own daughter. By the time I realized what I'd lost, it felt too late. And then you became famous, and I thought she doesn't need me now. She never needed me. I'd just be a burden. So you stayed silent. So I stayed silent. I looked at this man, my father, technically, though the word felt foreign in my mouth. He was dying. In 6 months, maybe less, he would be gone. And this conversation would be the last thing between us. What do you say to the person who broke you? What do you say when there's no time left for anger to be useful? I can't forgive you, I said finally. Not today. Maybe not ever. What you did is unforgivable. He nodded. I know, but I can release you. I can let go of the fantasy that you would someday be the father I needed. I can stop waiting for an apology that will never be enough. I can move forward. That's more than I deserve. Yes, it is. I stood up. I'm not going to visit you in the hospital. I'm not going to come to your funeral. I'm not going to pretend we had some beautiful reconciliation at the end. Because we didn't. You spent 30 years failing me, and now you're out of time. He looked up at me, tears streaming. But I want you to know one thing. I made it. Not because of you, in spite of you. I took the pain you gave me, and I turned it into something beautiful. Millions of people have read my story. Millions of daughters who felt invisible found themselves in my words. You tried to erase me, and instead, I became someone who can never be erased. I reached into my bag and pulled out a copy of my book, the special edition. The Daughter He Forgot. I placed it on the table in front of him. Read it. If you want to know who your daughter really is, it's all in there. Every word I never got to say to you. Every feeling you ignored. Every moment you missed. I turned to leave. Amara. I stopped, but didn't turn around. I'm sorry. I know it's not enough. But I'm sorry. I know you are. Goodbye, Marcus. I walked out of that coffee shop and I didn't look back. Marcus Parker died 11 weeks later. Aunt Lorraine called to tell me. She said he went peacefully. She said he had my book on his bedside table. She said the last thing he read was the dedication page. For my mother, who taught me that I was always enough. And for every daughter who needed to hear that. He died reading words I wrote about the mother who stayed, not the father who left. I didn't cry when I heard the news. I thought I would, but I didn't. I felt release. Like a chain I'd been dragging for 30 years finally fell away. I didn't go to the funeral. Instead, I flew to Atlanta. To my mother's house. The house she bought with the money I sent her after the first book sold. We sat on her porch, watching the sunset, drinking sweet tea. How do you feel, baby? Free. For the first time in my life, I feel free. That's because you are. You don't have to chase his ghost anymore. I spent so long being angry at him. Anger was appropriate. He earned it. But now I just feel sorry for him. He spent his whole life running from the one person who would have loved him unconditionally. And in the end, he died alone with a book about the daughter he threw away. My mother took my hand. That's his tragedy, not yours. You broke the cycle, baby. You took a name he rejected and made it mean something. You took pain he caused and turned it into healing for others. That's not revenge. That's transformation. Is it weird that I don't hate him anymore? No, hate is heavy. You were just ready to put it down. 3 months after my father died, I did something I never expected. I wrote him a letter. Not to send, he was already gone. But to finish, to close the chapter completely. Marcus, you're gone now. And I find myself with things still to say. I forgive you. Not for your sake, you're beyond caring now. For mine. I forgive you because carrying this anger was exhausting. I forgive you because I want to be free. I'll never understand why you couldn't love me. But I've accepted that some questions don't have answers. What I know is this. I am not your failure. I am my mother's triumph. I am proof that a woman can raise a child alone, and that child can become extraordinary. You missed out on school plays and graduations and wedding days that may still come. You missed out on grandchildren who might have called you grandpa. You missed out on the pride of watching your daughter succeed. That's your loss. It was always your loss. I am Amara Mitchell, daughter of Denise, author, CEO, survivor, and I am finally, completely free. Goodbye, Dad. I hope you found the peace you couldn't find here. Your daughter, I, burned that letter in my mother's backyard. Watched the ashes float up into the night sky, and I let him go. If you're watching this tonight, and you know what it feels like to be unloved by someone who was supposed to love you, if you've spent years trying to earn approval that never came, if you've ever wondered if there's something wrong with you because a parent couldn't see your worth, I want you to know something. It was never about you. It was always about them. Their inability to love says nothing about your lovability. Their failure to see you says nothing about your visibility. Their choice to leave says nothing about your worth. You are enough. You have always been enough. You will always be enough. And someday, the name they rejected might just become the name everyone remembers. 3 months after the funeral, a package arrived at my office. No return address, just my name in handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside was a letter from Aunt Lorraine. And something else. Amara, I found this while cleaning out your father's apartment. I thought you should have it. He kept everything, every article about you, every interview. Every photo from magazines. He had a scrapbook, Amara. 3 of them, actually. He never told anyone, not even Patricia. She found them after he died and threw them away. But I saved this one. I know he hurt you. I know he failed you in ways that can never be fixed. But I wanted you to know he saw you. He was watching the whole time. He just didn't know how to reach out. That doesn't excuse anything, but maybe it explains something. Love always, Aunt Lorraine. I opened the scrapbook, page after page. Every newspaper clipping, every magazine cover, printouts of online articles. Photos of me at award ceremonies that he must have found on the internet, and on the last page, a handwritten note. My daughter, I did this to her. And look what she became anyway. MP. I closed the scrapbook and sat in my office for a long time. He was watching. The whole time. He just never had the courage to say anything. Some people love you from a distance because they don't know how to love you up close. It doesn't make it okay. It doesn't heal the wounds. But it answers the question I'd been asking my whole life. Did he ever think about me? Yes, every single day. He just couldn't figure out how to tell me. Let me tell you about the letters. After The Daughter He Forgot came out, I started receiving mail. Not emails, actual handwritten letters. At first, it was dozens. Then hundreds. Then thousands. Letters from daughters whose fathers left. Letters from sons whose mothers abandoned them. Letters from people who grew up invisible in their own homes. One letter changed everything for me. It was from a woman named Grace, 52 years old. From a small town in Ohio. Dear Amara, I'm writing this at 3 a.m. because I just finished your book and I can't stop crying. I thought I was the only one. For 52 years, I thought there was something wrong with me, something unlovable, something broken. My father told me I was a mistake when I was 7 years old. I've carried that word mistake for 45 years. Your book made me realize I was never the mistake. He was. Thank you for writing your pain. Thank you for making me feel seen. Thank you for showing me that I'm not alone. I'm enough. I finally believe it. Grace, I get letters like Grace's every single week. Daughters who finally understood it wasn't their fault. Sons who stopped blaming themselves for their parents. Failures. People who read my story and found pieces of their own. That's why I wrote it. Not for revenge, not for fame, not for money, for grace. For every Grace out there who needed someone to say, it wasn't you, it was never you. If my pain could become someone else's healing, then it wasn't wasted. Nothing is wasted if you use it right. Let me tell you where I am now. It's been 5 years since my father died. 5 years since that conversation in the coffee shop. 5 years since I burned that letter in my mother's backyard. I'm 39 years old now. Mitchell House has grown to 47 employees. We've published over 300 books. 12 of them became New York Times bestsellers. I wrote 2 more books. The Name I Chose about rebuilding identity after trauma. And Letters to My Younger Self, a collection of wisdom I wish someone had told me at 18. But the biggest change isn't professional. I got married 2 years ago. His name is David. He's a high school English teacher who read my first book and wrote me a letter. Not a fan letter, a critique. He said Chapter 7 was self-indulgent, and Chapter 12 needed tighter editing. I wrote back, "Who are you to critique my bestseller?" He wrote back, "Someone who thinks you can do better." We argued over email for 6 months, then we met for coffee, then dinner, then the rest of our lives. He's the first person who ever challenged me without trying to diminish me. The first person who saw my flaws and stayed anyway. Last year, we had a daughter. We named her Denise, after my mother. When I held her for the first time, I understood something my father never did. Love isn't complicated. You just choose it, every day, over and over. You choose to show up. You choose to be present. You choose to make your child feel seen. My father couldn't make that choice. Or wouldn't. I make it every single day. When Denise looks at me, she sees a mother who loves her completely, unconditionally, without reservation. She will never wonder if she's enough, because I will tell her. Every day, until she believes it in her bones. The cycle ends with me. Last month, I took my mother to lunch. We sat at her favorite restaurant, the one where she used to take me after my school plays. The ones my father never attended. "Mama, I need to thank you for something." "For what, baby?" "For staying. For never making me feel like a burden. For loving me enough for 2 parents." She reached across the table and took my hand. "Amara, loving you was never hard. Loving you was the easiest thing I ever did. I know that now. But I spent so many years thinking something was wrong with me. That if my own father couldn't love me, stop. That man's inability to love had nothing to do with you. Some people are born with a hole inside them that nothing can fill. Not wives, not children, not success, nothing. I feel sorry for him now. Is that strange? No. That's growth. That's healing. You can feel sorry for someone and still refuse to let them hurt you again." She squeezed my hand. "You broke the cycle, baby. Denise will never know what it feels like to be unloved by a parent. That's your legacy. Not the books, not the company. Her. The way you love her. That's what matters." I looked at my mother, 63 years old now, gray in her hair, wisdom in her eyes. "Everything good in me came from you, Mama." "No, baby. It came from you. I just planted the seeds. You did all the growing." Thank you for listening tonight. If this story resonated with you, leave me a comment. Tell me your story. I want to hear it. Type, I am enough, if you needed this reminder tonight. Subscribe, if you haven't already. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, the people who couldn't love you don't get to define you. You define yourself. Pick your name. Make it mean something.